Welcome to Winterberg in Germany. After a snowy week of training and racing, we arrive on Sunday, round 4 of the BMW IBSF 4-man bobsleigh World Cup. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us. I'm Martin Haven, alongside me, birthday boy and broadcast partner John Morgan. And John, it may not be snowing, but this track has still been tough all week.
Well, the track is short in nature, slow up top, but they've added a dimension to this track which really challenges the teams, and it's this zero curve. The reason it's a zero curve is because they added it about 8 years ago, and this causes havoc. I call it the hassle curve. Get in, get down, and try and be straight on this long into curve 1. They didn't change any of these numbers down here, and this is the slow uphill section of the track. You can almost see it going uphill here out of 3. And this sort of lulls you to sleep. Curve 4, well, there's a lot of problems on the exit of 4. You tap the right-hand wall, throws you in the middle of 5. You have to oversteer. 6, this little counter curve sets you up for Kreisel, the first pivotal part of the track. 270-degree whip around and exit where you came in, underneath where you came in, and the exit of entrance of 9 here. Wow, what a challenge. 9 is high speed. 10, 4 G's of force. 82, 83 miles an hour now. Chicane, couple tight, quick turns at the bottom, and watch the sled launch itself into this finish uphill section of the track. Threw down, and Martin, it's an easy track, but there's a lot of bogeys made here.
Well, when the track is easier to drive, finding the difference to win makes it really tough. Johannes Lochner is our 4-man World Cup leader, ahead of teammate Nico Walter. Justin Cripps third, Lamin Dean of Great Britain in 4th position. And that's after the first 3 races. It was a double race weekend in Park City, Utah. And then we had a night race in Whistler to round out our North American trail. Well, the weather has not been kind to us so far in our races. It snowed on Friday and on Saturday. Hopefully, although we're in the cloud base, definitely the cloud is all around us. It's not snowing hard and it's not very windy, and that's good news as well. Nico Walter there, limbering up. And we've had 3 different winners here in 4-man in the last 3 years. All of them, though, from Germany. 2015, the world champion was Max Arndt. 2016, Francesco Friedrich, the winner. 2017, last season, Johannes Lochner was the man who came out top. Just going through your shot there, Clemens Brascher for Switzerland, the new boy in the team, and the shock winner of yesterday's 2-man race, his first ever World Cup 2-man start. He goes off 3rd in what is a jam-packed list of entries here. We've got 29 entries, and that is going to make
16 countries.
Yeah, going to make it difficult to make the second heat. For a good 1/3 of our field will be squabbling. In fact, probably half the field will be squabbling for positions in the top 20. The BMW IBSF 4-man bobsleigh World Cup, round 4, Winterberg in Germany, the first of our European races, and it's the honor of Patrick Baumgartner of Italy to kick off the competition. First of 29 sleds in heat 1 of 2.
This is the second consecutive race where Baumgartner's drew number 1.
Baumgartner didn't race in the World Cup here last year, and he's still on the development trail. Spends as much time racing in European Cup races, the second tier of sliding here in Europe, as he does in the World Cup.
Well, the thing to watch, especially in the shot coming up, is can you see any shoulders behind the driver? Yep, we can see a couple guys back there, and that's not an aerodynamic profile. You shouldn't see anybody, and as you watch this thing progress with that skid, you'll see some teams where you don't see anybody behind that driver. Ooh, late there.
And those of you who were with us yesterday for the 2-man and the women, you notice how much more noise is coming off the track from these big 4-man sleds. There's an awful lot more weight.
This is the danger part, curve 9. If there's going to be problems, it'll be in 9, or you can roll into 12. And when you're going 80 miles an hour plus, like these sleds are, you saw how late he was. All 3 turns there, the back end of that sled flopped.
Yep.
55.49. And the track record is a 53.48. 2 seconds from the track record.
Yeah, the track record was set in the World Championships here in March 2015 by Nico Walter.
And that was when it was 50 degrees.
Yeah.
Warm, beautiful, spectacular day.
with a slick track surface.
Watch the back end of these. Look at it. These are 80 mile an hour. This is up top. He makes a mistake there, and then look at the sled here. I mean, look at this is 83. What did he go? 83 miles an hour down there.
82.3 at the bottom. So that's 70 and accelerating hard there. You know, 3 or 4 inches late with the steer at that speed. It's a fraction of a second. Next up is Poland's Maciej Luty, first World Cup start of the season for him as well in the 4-man. A lot of the smaller European nations didn't make the North American trip. They raced in Winterberg here a couple of weeks ago and did Lillehammer as well in Norway. They always like to remember their teammate, Agnieszka Borowska, who was injured in a bobsleigh incident. She's still one of their biggest fans, and likewise in reverse. And the Poles, by the way, one of the nations that loaned out sleds. Nick Cunningham was driving one of their 4-man, and he said, I'd race this. I really like the feel of this sled. The American sleds didn't turn up until race day yesterday, and so they spent all week borrowing helmets and spikes and sleds, and the Poles were one of those that handed over a sled for the Americans to qualify for the races.
Boy, look at the speed, 96.2.
2,500's up, that's a good advantage from Maciej Luty as well.
101.9, which is equal to 63.3 miles an hour.
3,400's going away from Patrick Baumgartner. Whoa, and that was late. It's very fast and icy yesterday and again today, despite the snow.
4,100s, he lost a little time on the bottom. Down in Minins, the Latvian, who's really brought this Polish team back to some respect. Pretty good result yesterday for Luty.
Yep.
2-man competition.
They were full of excitement to be back here. Yeah, they do.
Some good athletes on the team, some good track and field backgrounds.
Yeah, Krzysztof Tolkowski, who's the 2-man brakeman, junior world champion sprinter. But
look at that. Boy, he got in there late.
He hauled that off, didn't he?
Yeah, look at the back end of that sled. I mean, that's 1,370 pounds. Look at it, it's rocking back and forth. Whoa, G-forces.
Yeah, you take 5 or 6 strong men to rock a sled full of meat like that. Well, next up is yesterday's sensation, Klemens Brasher. I said yesterday he's done a handful of 4-man races. He has, but only one as a driver. He was a brakeman for Beat Hefty, was dropped by Hefty before Sochi, started driving, and came out his first ever 2-man World Cup start yesterday, won by a quarter of a second.
Had good starts, too. There's 5:23. The track record is a 4:98. We're probably going to see 09s. 08s maybe from the best teams or some teens. But Bracher made some statement yesterday.
He's the strongest of the Swiss drivers at the push, and Michael Quonen, his brakeman, the strongest of the Swiss brakemen, has been enticed away, or tried to be enticed away by the other Swiss drivers.
Oh, big mistake there. And, you know, he lost all his speed. He had a big advantage over the Polish team. He lost it all immediately. That might have something to do with the way they entered the sled before curve 1.
Only 700s behind Maciej Luty.
Well, he's got the equal speed for Luty, so it's going to be tough. But Luty was late. Watch. Oh, these pictures. And he's still flying. 133.9. This is going to be right to the 100.
83.2 miles an hour. And almost on his side.
Listen, we gasped in here watching those pictures. What do you think those guys on the sled are feeling right now?
Yeah. Well, Klemens Brasher, whatever else happens this weekend, he has certainly arrived with the bang in the 2-man. That was a rocky ride, though. Look how late this was.
This is up top, I think. Yeah, that's into the finish, right?
Yeah, that's out of the labyrinth.
Yeah.
And there, 82 miles an hour. And
whoa,
again, you can see, look, he was, the runner's 4 or 5 inches higher than anybody else's runner marks. He was in real danger there, and he really hauled it off the corner. He knew that he was late.
Yeah, those pictures up there into Kreisel, he almost had some issues.
Dominik Dvorak of the Czech Republic next up, and again, like the Poles, like Brasher, didn't race in North America, so he's raced in Lillehammer and here in Winterberg a couple of weeks ago in European Cup action.
And he didn't make the cut last year, 22nd in this race last year, so the start ended in the low 20s. 5:12, excellent. Wow, impressive. This 25-year-old student from Prague.
Had great starts in the two-man yesterday as well, didn't they?
Very impressive. Only has 800s, though. That means he might have made a mistake out of one that diminished some of that great speed.
13th place in the two-man race yesterday in a field of 30.
Speed's way off. He's already down to the speed less than Ludi and Baumgartner. Dead heat, 101.5. That is not the speed of the other sleds, but he could get smooth down here, maybe find a fast track. This is much smoother than any other sleds. +4, 133.3 is decent.
It's going to be very close, isn't it? 82.8 miles an hour, a tenth behind. And these are going to be the guys you sense that are fighting at the bottom of the top 20. Yeah.
I think it's a pretty good run.
I think that's a pretty decent
Very
run.
impressed with the start time for the
Looks like
Czechs.
a new cowl on the sled. See the matte finish, still in primer. And a carbon nose as well, so...
It's got a spectacular looking two-man sled.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll go back, I'm sure, at Christmas to get wrapped up for the second half of the season.
Well, the start, and this is the best start so far, so it's about, you know, cohesion, getting in the sled, and sitting down before the first curve, and don't alter the sled or the speed. And the number 2 guy waits for the 3 and 4 guys to get in, and it's a fire drill. It's not easy doing that.
And it's a long start here, but that means you have to run a long way. It's pretty flat, so you're always late getting into the sled. 5th of our 29 starters, with Clemens Brescher of Switzerland leading the race, is Serbia's Vukrad Jenovic. Didn't make the cut in the two-man race yesterday. Didn't do the four-man race here in Winterberg last season either.
In quick. They're all in quick and down. They're trying to settle. 24, not
too
great.
bad. Yeah.
Better than the Italian time. 62.8. That's not the optimum speed you want. But
started 100th slower than the current leader, Clemens Brescher. 1200s behind. Black is obviously the new black in sleds this year, particularly in the four-man. Everybody trying to find a bit of improved kit as we run up towards Pyeongchang. 59 days from the opening ceremony now. The clock is suddenly ticking an awful lot faster for everyone.
100 kilometer speed, which is 62.1 miles
Big
an hour.
tail slide.
32.4, it's 82.3 miles an hour. Threw it down, 5th best time, and I think Vuk is going to be
struggling, I think, to make the race with a time like that. You've got to be, I think you've got to be 55 or below to be in the mix.
I think you're right.
And I think that he might find himself 3/4 of a second out of contention with that.
Oh yeah. I don't think these last
nudge,
two
nudge there. That's where the skid came from.
Wow.
Didn't see the tap, saw the skid.
Boy, that's a lot of skidding going into that curve 10. And then down here in these labyrinths, this is no picnic, that's for sure. I mean, this is 40 years ago today, this track was open.
Yeah.
We have to bring that up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, the sleds and athletes are a little faster than 40 years ago today.
Clemens Brescher is the leader. 5 of 29 sleds down here in Winterberg. 6th starter in a 4th race of the four-man World Cup. Silver medalist last time out in Whistler. Great Britain's Lamin Dean, Ben Simons, Toby Alubi and Andy Matthews on the sled. And the entire British team was out having dinner yesterday evening. Very relaxed atmosphere.
In down should be a good start. 5:13, not as good as the Czechs. Great entry, great exit of that zero hassle curve. Toby Alubi on this sled, you know, on his bio he writes in, what is your former sport? And he puts in bench warmer. That's his persona though right there. I mean, but he's also a teacher. Something in the back of that sled.
Little skiddy, he was kicking up the ice. And I wonder whether people got runners, little fat runners maybe, in anticipation of some
big
snow.
Speed there. Huge speed there, a little late on 9.
3.5
This is the best speed. This is the fastest sled. He medaled a couple weeks ago.
Here we go
Park
now.
City, 134.3. No one's been near that speed. This is 54.78.
Okay.
The first sub 55 second time. They had the second best start, the best speeds all the way down, but this team medaled a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Some high fives from the fans for Lamindine. Boy from Manchester, done good.
Guardian of the Queen.
Yeah. Grenadier Guardsman in his day job.
Watch this. Watch the way they get in with precision. Choreography on ice. You do not want to alter that sled into that first curve. Lamindine did pretty good there.
Yeah.
That's a pretty straight exit out of that hassle curve. A little easier for the 4-man sleds to come straight out of there than the 2-man sleds.
Got all that weight to keep them stable. Next up is Nick Polignato of Canada. Surprise leader after the first heat of yesterday's 2-man race. Couldn't hold on for a medal, but all 3 Canadian sleds in the top 5.
Great start.
Wow, holy moly. Polignato and Lascelles Brown, who's at 2 on this sled in the 2-man, were the fastest starters in the field. The youthful, ever youthful
I don't know if they got in that sled properly before curve 1 because they lost all that velocity. There were 400s ahead. Should have been 8 or 10 at the next clock. Now he's in red. So I think he made a mistake. They might have run too far.
It just wasn't the neatest and tidiest of loads. You can see the sled rocking, but these are good lines. And that's one of the things we've seen from the Canadians.
1.3, he's a half a kilometer down.
Sled really under control.
Pulling up slides.
Big skid.
Good steering there, 2/10 backs. This looks like second place. 132.9.
Last Canadian 4-man medal on this track in 2007-8 season. Pierre Luder's got a bronze with Dave Bissett, Justin Cripps on the crew, and of course Lascelles Brown.
He's the king.
Yeah.
Still good run. I might have made some, might have damaged their speed into the first curve by running too far. Best start so far though. Let's see if they run too far here now. Get in, down. Now watch the front of the sled because they had the best speed, best start by 500ths. Number 2 and 3 guy got a little issues trying to get in. Look, 2 guys should be down first, then the 3 guy, but it's not. Look at the sled though. You see, look at the runners.
Yeah.
The back end, I don't know if that's lined up, but they had better start and didn't have as good a speed as Lamindine.
The problem there was Brian Barnett at 3. First race back for Barnett after injury. Couldn't get his left foot in around King, and that's what hooked them up. Next up, Nico Walter, with the return of Marco Hubenbecker at 2, Kevin Corona and Eric Franke making up the crew. We've had 3 different 4-man winners this season, and Walter kicked off the year with victory in race 1 in Park City.
5:11.
That's another right in the groove start.
Look at the heads lined up. Can we see some shoulders back there? I was mentioning that in the first couple sleds down, and
that's why the tallest
you don't
man,
see much back there.
Tallest man, Hubenbecker, goes right behind the driver, and then it sort of cascades down their backs.
Yeah, he's already lighting it up here with the lesser start time.
Yeah, 1300.
He's bringing this out 13:97.2. Nobody's been in the 97 mark yet.
Well, this is the new FES 4-man sled. The FES 2-man is going superbly as well.
102.8, that's the best speed down that mark.
FES had victory yesterday in the women's race with Stephanie Schneider. All the German girls now in the FES sled.
Smooth, 135. No one's been on those numbers.
Wow, 84 miles an hour.
84 miles an hour on this track. Wow, 54.48. There's the...
I wonder what the speeds at the bottom were 40 years ago.
They weren't
84 kilometers an hour, maybe.
I was in those sleds 39 years ago, and it wasn't 84 miles an hour.
But they were open. I bet it felt like it.
Oh, it did. But he had a really magic acceleration at the start. And then down here, you know, look at the heads, the speed part of the track. And watch the heads come on and off the curves. Watch
look
the
at the
transition.
control.
Look how
as well.
smooth he is there. Look at that transition. Everybody else, you see the head slapping left to right.
He's got great control and great speed, and that's just the magic bullet.
Nico Walter, we're the only guys to win a 2-man and a 4-man race this year.
He is. So next up, we can see with the waving of the flags, Bob Team Elskasmel Bardis for Latvia.
No, this is...
I beg your pardon, Johannes Lochner first, yeah. So Lochner with Josh Bloom also making his return. Joining Christopher Weber and Christian Rasp in the sled.
Yeah, 5:06, speed 63.9. No one's had speed like that.
That's nearly 40 miles an hour from a push start in 60 meters.
Half a kilometer better than anybody, but it's only out to 8. He should have been better than that. Should have been out near 15, so it might go back here.
Last year's winner in the four-man in Winterberg, ahead
12.
of Nico
No,
Walter.
He's got that on line. 97.2, that's a similar speed to his teammate.
Frustrated in North America with the lack of pace from the Valner sleds. And he was saying if it doesn't come good here, he doesn't know what he's going to do.
102.7, equal speed. He's got a 10th at the bank. Into the finish, not as clean as his teammate. 134.7, not the same speed. Single digits, should be the leader. 12. He wanted to start.
Yeah, 500s faster at the start, 1200s at the bottom. Joshua Bloom there sitting up already as he leaps out of the sled.
Well, Johannes had a very disastrous day yesterday. Both times clipped the wall before curve 1.
Well, last year's winner has the lead early on in this first heat.
Watch this cohesion. Get in, get down. Number 2 guy waits for 3 and 4. Look at the 3 guys coming in a little late here. Number 2 guy's waiting to feel the legs underneath them. Watch their arms come up here like it's poetry in motion. And there's the arms up together.
4,
and they drop
3,
in down.
2.
And there's settled before the first curve. Best start, best velocity. That's why he's the leader.
First race for Joshua Bloom, and he synced in really nicely with the team. Okay, so next up is Oskars Melbardis. Thomas Treskins on the four-man team. Didn't push in the two-man yesterday. Still not quite where he wants to be in terms of fitness. Elvis Lucis, Janis Strenger on the team.
Well, for 3 of these 4 guys are athletes. Big, fast, strong, 5'12".
Oh, not in at 0.
63.5. That's pretty good speed, though, still.
So didn't compete here last year. Melbardis and Treskins were still on the sick list after we got back from North America.
Skid, watch the back end here on the entrance into the prize. Little skid. 96.4. That's way off the mark. Could have been 2,500s down, 3,700s down back. He's way in the back of the bus here. Very surprising. This is a
struggled to be in front of Nick
champion.
Yeah, he was the bronze medalist in the Worlds here in 2015. That was his last good run here.
Wow.
Half a second back.
Still sub. You know, as you said, anybody under 55 is going to be in the mix.
Well, now we're looking back at Patrick Baumgartner and Vuk Radjenovic. You know, they're 1.1 and 1.3 seconds off, and that's really in the danger zone. But Melbardis half a second back. There's going to be too many sleds in front. You're not going to get a medal from that. You're not going to find a second on everybody in the second run.
Well, 4 very large men. Oh, look at the number 3 guy, did not.
He slipped on the bunk, didn't he? And that's why he was late getting in.
And look, they still got push bar issues out. They're still moving around here, coming around that first curve. You don't want to do that. That's why they did not have very good start, speed, velocity.
Oskars Melbardis in 4th place, 10 sleds down. And our race is being led by Johannes Lochner, the world champion in four-man. Alexander Kazyanov of Russia next up. And Kazyanov, the winner of the most recent four-man encounter in Whistler, beat Lamindine of Great Britain into the silver medal position. So Kazyanov, one of our 3 different winners. Can he double up here?
Quick entry, quick start into the sled. Good lines out of the 0 curve, 63.7, one of the top 3 start speeds. So the Russians, good technique at the start there.
Got eased out of the medals last year by Benny Meyer. He was 4th, Meyer was 3rd.
So anything around 97.6 speed in the Kreisel. give him a chance. 96.8, not the best speed. So this will not, I don't think he'll challenge, but he's done magical things. In the two-man yesterday, he was in second place at the end of the first run with some unbelievable speed in the bottom, and he's got great speed there. Top 3 speed there too.
Yeah.
So he's coming back in the bottom. This is one of the better drivers in the world.
Oh no, the gap's opened up. 134.5 is decent speed, not as quick as Nico Walter.
Third,
and he's third.
Well, he got beat by 500s at the start, 33 at the bottom.
Won 2 four-man races last year. One was in Pyeongchang, which obviously rules him out of any chance of an Olympic medal anyway. And the other one was in Whistler, where he's already won this season.
He's won a medal in Whistler the last 4 years.
Yeah, that is his, it is definitely his golden track, no question.
He can drive. 4th place at the Olympics, of course, in 2014 in both the 2 and the 4. 10 down.
10 down and 19 to go. Johannes Lochner leads from Nico Walter and Alexander Kasyanov. So Francesco Friedrich, the joint world champion with our current leader Johannes Lochner in 4-man, and the 4-time 2-man world champion, didn't claim 2-man gold, but it did at least get a medal yesterday for the first time all season in the 2-man.
Good load, not a very good drive. Oh, terrible. He got on that curve too late, too much pressure. 63.6 is good. He's going to be red numbers though because of that.
4-man winner here 2 years ago, and he is running out of patience, Will de Valner sled. He does not want to be on the back burner here.
Well, that wasn't the sled in the exit of curve 1. 97.1, that's very good speed considering that mishap at the start.
But still slower than the fastest at this point, which is Nico Walter.
102.7 is excellent though.
Yeah.
That's some of the top speed we've seen down here. See if he can find a line at the bottom, put him in the types, coming back. 1500s. 134.9 is not there though.
No, 83.8 miles an hour.
Third. Boy, considering the hassle curve issue, that was not bad.
Yeah, a little bit like Tretyakov in the skeleton race. He popped the groove, hit everything in sight down to corner 1, and still put in a competitive time. It was a decent run from Friedrich, but definitely not top draw.
Well, I don't think it has anything to do with his crew here. I just think that he misguided his sled into the curve, into the middle of the curve, and when on the exit of the curve is when he had all his problems. The crew looks fine.
He's not feeling the love, is he?
Exit of the curve right here. Look, comes in too late. Comes into the middle of the curve, bang, and then there's this, hit. You should let it hit. Look at him trying to get control. The runners, let the sled hit and let it come straight after that. Just take your medicine. But he had a little too much of a skid there.
5th place last year, Francesco Friedrich lies in 3rd after 12 sleds, but lots of talent still to come. What about Cody Basque from the USA? When Nat Weber, Carlo Valdez and Sam McGuffey, 13th place in the 4-man race here last year. And although he's been bobsledding a lot, he's not actually spent many seasons racing in Europe, Cody, so he's still trying to find his feet on these tracks, and of course didn't practice 4-man in his own sled.
No, he did.
Yes, that's true.
The night train too was on the premise, so these guys should get in the mid-teens. 509,
wow,
that's a good start. Now let's see if they can get 67 or 63.6, decent, same as Friedrich.
Yeah.
But he's already in those red numbers.
And so is Friedrich.
Back.
Only 900s back though, against a top 3 that is Germany. And Alexander Kasyanov, who's nobody's fool in a 4-man.
96.5 is not very good speed. He's way off the pace of 5 sleds at least.
1800ths of a second back, 2800s back.
Decent, 102 speed, he's a little late there.
Oh, big skid.
See if he can get it under control here.
He has.
This is the sled that Holcomb drove to a bronze medal at the Sochi Games.
Always finds speed at the bottom.
Way off. 6th.
Okay, 6th position, you'll take that. That could well be a top 10 after the first heat.
I think that's safely going to put him into the mix, though.
Yeah, well, he'll be in the race, no question. 13th last year, an improvement would be up into the 10. Needs to get a new visor on that helmet. That is getting very scratched up. You can see how close to the cowl the driver is all the time. That's what's bumping up and down on the visor.
Curve 9, this wasn't pretty. A little late here, look at the heads. He's airborne there in the back end, and watch the skid here. He's going to tap the right. He's going to force him into the middle. Now look at the sled. Now that's at 80 miles an hour into a spot. You're going to get 4 G's of force. He had to adjust more. When you adjust like that, you sort of eliminate speed.
Chris Spring of Canada next up. Cam Stones, Josh Kirkpatrick, Neville Wright on the sled.
Seeing some snow. They're going really quick. The snow is coming in. 5:08, second best speed. So this should be 63.8. Yeah, that's the speed when you have that type of start. And the Springer, who
what a season he's having. Yeah.
4 back though.
Winner in Whistler in the 2-man, silver yesterday in the 2-man.
So the magic number speed for him is 97.3 or 4, 97.1, but a little skid on the entrance to Kreisel.
Well, we know he's got 4-man pace. He took bronze in the opening race in Park City.
102, yeah, 102.5. That's his magical speed here.
Wow.
He could really get himself into that German logjam.
Yeah, and they have been disrupting the Germans all season.
134.5. I'm saying now the track doesn't
Could
have
still
speed.
be in front of Friedrich. No, he's not. By 300s behind Friedrich.
Started the same as Friedrich.
Don't forget, we've still got Justin Cripps to come for Canada. 3 Canadian sleds in the top 5 in the 2-man yesterday. Canada are really on it this season.
The skid into the Kreisel was costly. Good start, good exit, curve 1, curve 0, the Hassel curve. Watch this. This is into Kreisel. Look at the skids, and that's worthy of probably 5-10 hundredths at least. Harder to get these 4-mans into a skid, but when they get into a skid, they have a mind of their own, especially down there when it's near 84 miles an hour we've seen down there.
I wonder whether they've got fatter runners on for the snow as well. That might benefit them later on in the day. Justin Cripps next up. Cripps lying 3rd in the World Cup rankings. Silver in Park City in the opening race behind Nico Walter. He finished 8th in Park City race 2, 4th in Whistler last time out.
Should be sub 10 second, 5:10, 5:07, 5:08 for these guys, 5:02!
Wow.
So, wow, you saw him adjust the runners there, 63.9, 63.8. He had a way better start than his teammate.
That's
only had the same start speed, so.
400s off the start record now.
Green numbers, though. Now red there, skid there, that's that exit of 4. But he says there's too much ice on there. Much better entry, 96.7, not the speed of his teammate. And this is 102 at least he's going to need at the next clock. 102 flat. He's got a chance for top 6. It's top 5, maybe.
Again, it's going to be between him and Chris Spring for 4th place.
Not bad.
1900s back.
134.2. I think the track's lost its speed at the bottom.
A tiny little bit of snow might help lubricate it up. 500ths of a second behind his teammate. So that battle within the team. Chris Spring at the moment with a slender upper hand. He's 4th. Cripps is 5th. Nick Polignarto in 10th. So the Calgary Stampede sled comes in behind its teammate.
Skid, exit of 4 to 5. But it's saying there's just too much ice on that curve to get out of there cleanly. And then this is down in the 84 mile an hour speed trap. Look at these pictures. Look at the way the sleds just waver back and forth like that, and they rocket into that uphill section of the track. Finish curve.
5th place for Justin Cripps. Next up, Brad Hall of Great Britain. Johannes Lochner, the race leader from Nico Walter and Francesco Friedrich. Canada 4th and 5th. And in 7th place is Great Britain's Lamin Dean as his teammate Brad Hall comes to line. Hall, after severing all the tendons in the back of his hand last year on the cowl of a sled, didn't race here, didn't come back till later in the year. Nick Gleason, his man at 2, also bears massive burns on his shoulder from the ice here. John Fearon and Greg Cackett in the sled with Brad.
In down clean.
Oh, 5:09, it's another good start.
Little tap, 63.6, excellent. Not the best, but in the top 5.
300s away from the leader, Johannes Lochner, in the start.
11 back already, though. So he took a great start. And lost his speed. Maybe that hit out of curve, the zero curve, cost him.
Rocking and rolling. He's got no control. The sled is sliding around behind him.
Look at the snow coming in.
Well, I suspect that they may have runners for snow, and there's just not enough snow for the runners. The snowrier it gets, the more you want a wider runner. I mean, we're talking just a millimetre or so, but the narrow runners give you control.
No speed at all, and this is the sled that won a
top 10, 11th place behind Nick Polignato.
55.05. We said sub 55 will put you in the field. He won a bronze medal last time out, his first podium. And Whistler, both British teams medaled for the first time ever in that North American tour, which is...
Yeah, he had the bronze in Park City and silver for Lamendine in Whistler in the four-man competition. So they've both had a medal this year, but see, there's no control. The back of the sled just sliding around.
Especially here, boy,
you know, it's like it's on summer tires.
He's probably, I bet you, 11th place at the bottom, but I bet you he was 11th place in the speed, and that was after an excellent start.
Yeah. And there is now snow falling. We've been in the clouds since early hours of the morning, but now there is a bit of snow drifting down to greet Rico Peter. 14th here last year, his worst four-man result of the season.
The snow's coming in now, so danger zone for anybody else coming up. Disadvantage, 5:15, not a very good start. 63 low, 63 flat, really low. So if he's got to stay within 1500s here to have any kind of chance, top 10. 2600s, he's buried. He's going to be looking at 10 to 15.
He's got the regular starting crew, Alex Baumann, Seaman Friedli, Thomas Amrine. So there's no injuries, no illnesses. Just didn't get the greatest of starts, but he's got a little more control.
102.3 is excellent.
Yeah.
So he picked up the speed. You know, he's a reckless driver.
He's looking a lot more controlled than Brad Hall's sled. The tail
135.2. That's the best speed of anybody in the last 10 sleds down the track.
It's as fast as Nico Walter.
So he improved. But very rarely do you see a sled with the slow start, slow speeds up top on this track, find the fast line like he did at the bottom. Complaining about something.
Yeah, don't think it was the most comfortable load. Well, I think you can tell what Rico Peter thinks of it. Hardly leaping about like a spring chicken, is he? But at least he is in front of teammate Clemens Bracher.
That's tied for the best speed in the bottom part of the track with Nico Walter. This little tap here doesn't seem much, but when you're still accelerating, you're going from about 75 to about 85 in that 100-meter stretch. And he had the great acceleration point there, because to go from the deficit he was at Kreisel to have tie the best speed in the bottom, look how careful they are with the sled.
Yeah. It's now snowing properly at the top. Here comes our next Latvian sled. The second is Oskars Kībermanis.
Oh, the snow is really coming in now.
And the wind as well, and that's going to hurt the starts.
I would be going, guys. The clock's been green for 12 seconds. Should have been gone within 5 seconds of that clock turning green.
10th place finish last year in the four-man race here in Winterberg for Kībermanis.
10th.
Bronze in last year's
5:12, 63.3, 63.4 is decent for that 12th start. That's about 8th, the best start speed.
Four-man winner in Samaritz last year. He was bronze in the two-man race here last year.
His impressive stat is he medaled in both the 2 and the 4 in the Pyeongchang Olympic test last March. 2200s isn't too bad. 96.8. That's going to sentence him to the back of the top 10.
He was 11th at the splits, but he's bringing it back. 8th place.
102.3 is excellent. That's right there. Off a 9. It's down here. 134 and change. 134.7 is pretty good.
Okay, ahead of Lamendine of Great Britain, chasing down Kasyanov. Doesn't get to Kasyanov, but he's 400s behind him.
Good speed. 10th best start, 7th at the bottom. Snow, dealing with the snow issue at the start. I would say that's not bad.
Yeah, pretty decent drive.
Yeah.
In a field of nearly 30, getting in the top 10, there's a lot of talent.
Well, the Germans swept here last year. They're setting themselves up for a sweep again. This curve 9, little too high here in the end. But maybe that's the line, because he was fast. See this sled just up near the woodwork.
But it's how you come off it, and he avoids the clip there.
And he
avoids
was no
the skid.
skid. Yeah, no skid. So maybe that high, late line
He's
is
releasing that steer late. Next up for the USA, Nick Cunningham. Hakeem Abdul-Sabur was in the two-man with him yesterday, and then he's got Chris Kinney and Sam Michener. Wasn't on the World Cup trail last year, so didn't have a result here.
Considering the start time, the speed wasn't bad.
Again, first time he's driven this sled down Winterberg. Didn't train in it. He trained in a sled borrowed from Poland. The sled arrived yesterday.
Big skid out of 4.
The day before, it was 23 hours before the two-man race.
95.8, some of the slowest speed we've seen in the last 10 sleds right there.
So he's trying to dial himself back into what this sled feels like. He didn't have the sled in training. He didn't race in Winterberg last year. So it's back in the memory banks now. 15th place, that should see him into the race. It's not where he wants to be.
33.9.
16th spot, drifting away a little at the line. 55.12, that might well be enough.
I think, well, we said sub 55. We might move it to 55.15.
Now, part of the battle going on here is for the number of sleds that you're going to take to the games. You need your nation to be in the top 3 ranked overall to get 3 sleds in. And the next 5 nations get 2. So it's all about the points you score, and not having sleds in practice potentially could really hurt the USA here.
And the snow here could make things a little slippery for these guys jumping onto these bunks.
No kidding. Now here's Frenchman Loic Costerc. Opted not to do the two-man race yesterday just so they could focus on the four-man. 6th in Whistler, just the outstanding race of his four-man career in World Cup so far. And again, they're looking for another top 10 finish. That's their target now, is to get in the 10. They know they're not going to beat the Germans, but they want to be a top 10 finisher every time they hit the ice.
Should be a 5.12, 5.14 in that vicinity. They've improved at the start. They've got some really good athletes here.
5.18.
Not as good. The 63 flat, probably 63 flat. That's, you know, about the number you're going to get with that type of start. But the one thing is to start. The other thing is to get in the sled and get around that first curve. Have some velocity.
Long, flat start here. It's not an explosive one. You've got to run it a long way, and that suits some starting teams more than others.
17 numbers, 96.2. That's better speed than Cunningham, so he might be able to catch Cunningham down here at the bottom. 101.7, that's again better speed than Cunningham.
It's decent speed, 5500's back, but he's out to 18th position behind Dominik Dvorak of the Czech Republic.
Speed in the bottom, 134.3, that's decent speed. Top 12 speed.
Coming back.
12
at the line. Down,
look at that run.
Down in the labyrinth.
So there's a Bruno Mejon designed sled that performed very well in the bottom.
Need to have a word with Loic and yeah, get the heritage of this sled, because Mejon has had a hand in so many different sled recowling older chassis.
That shows you that you could drive here in the bottom part of the track and find a fast line, get some time back. And this is 10 into the labyrinth. Yeah, that's
not bad.
This is 11, 12 to 13 into the finish.
Not hanging it out high. You can see right at the back, Dorian Oterville being bounced up and down. Around. Yeah. But that's the nature of the beast. These sleds are an awful lot quicker than the track was 40 years ago. So 20 sleds are down here in Winterberg, and so is the snow. Germany 1, 2, 3, Canada 4, 5 ahead of Alexander Kazyanov. And we now have 9 sleds trying to break into the field. First of whom, Justin Olsen of the USA with Evan Weinstock.
Start.
Skid.
63.5, but that's going to all be erased here pretty quick.
Stephen Langton and Chris Vogt on the sled as well.
Didn't make the cut yesterday. They say he's nursing a bad back.
18th in the four-man race last year, and again, didn't have his own sled in training. So borrowed spikes, borrowed helmet, borrowed sled, borrowed tracksuit, borrowed runners. Nothing was the same as it is now.
Skid. Tap before 9, 5,400. That's 2 kilometers down.
Sort of slightly feel that he and Cunningham were just hanging on and trying to get it down safely.
Yeah, this is 19th spot. I don't think he's going to make the cut for the 2nd day in a row.
This is basically their first training run. Up to 19th, out goes Vukrajenovic of Serbia. 8,700's back.
I don't think he's going to do it.
It's going to be close. It is going to be close.
That's 23. I think 15 is going to be the number. There's 3 or 4 good teams coming up here behind him. So
Benny Meyer, the bronze medalist from last year, is yet to come. Alexis Stolnev.
Andrianov. Jan Vibra, he can throw it down.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah,
but good start from these guys. There's no doubting their speed or enthusiasm.
Yeah.
But the problem is that Justin
really
Olsen has not driven this sled this week.
Well, he's probably one of the least experienced 4-man pilots in the field, too.
So to add insult to injury. Making friends down the track. So here's last year's bronze medalist, Benny Meyer. Kilian Walch, Marcus Sammer, who was on the 2-man with him yesterday, and Danut Moldovan.
He is driving the sled that won the World Championships last year.
The only difference from last year's crew, last year, Stefan Lauseger was at 2. Today, it's Kilian Walch. Benny had a good day yesterday.
Down quickly, really struggled a little bit. 507, excellent. 63.7 or so. 63.8, even better than what it showed. Only 600s back, that's excellent.
Yeah, 7th place in the 2-man yesterday. He's got a feel for this track, there's no doubt about it.
1400s back, this is pretty good.
Had 2 15th places in Park City and Whistler, and a 14th place in Park City. This is going to be a different step entirely. Top 6.
Speed almost on that magic 102. Let's see what he can do in the bottom with the sled that won the World Championships last year in Königssee.
Not quite enough to stay in the top 6. 7th on the splits at the moment.
133.3 is off the pace.
Going to have a wild and wacky race. He's 8th for him to take a medal.
Pretty much where he was yesterday.
Yeah.
So that puts Olsen on the bubble.
Yep, so we have lost Patrick Baumgartner and Vukrajenovic, much as we expected. Justin Olsen, 20th. Dominik Dvorak of the Czech Republic, 19th. And there are a few more danger sleds behind. So Olsen, if he makes the 2nd heat, will be doing well. Well, Benny Meyer not where he was last year in the medals. And from 8th place, not likely to get there unless something very screwy happens. Good day for the Austrian women yesterday. Katie Beil in 4th place in her first World Cup race of the season. Here's Marcus Treichel. Didn't race the 4-man here in the World Cup last year either.
Well, did pretty good yesterday, right?
Yeah. Where did he end up yesterday? Forget now. It's a whole 8 hours ago.
He made the cut.
21st, he got bumped, actually.
He did get bumped.
Yeah, just out. And more snow. This is what it's looked like for the last 2 days. The first sleds definitely had a weather advantage. 5:27. I think probably they would be a little quicker than that. And the problem with the snow you can see there is there's a lot of wind around it as well, which there wasn't at the start of the race. And so that means you can be blowing into or running into a gust of wind that'll take a couple of tenths off your speed, no question. Happens in athletics, and they're not pushing great big sleds along on ice.
6'2", not bad.
21st place at the moment. Can he drive himself into the race ahead of Justin Olsen?
1.6, better speed than Olsen. Oh, late.
8,100s back. Olsen was 8,700s back in the line, so Treichel is going to struggle and doesn't get it. So he misses out by 400s.
Well, his start time, instead of the 22nd best start, he's in the 21st position. So the start wasn't a bad drive down the track, but he needs to start in the 10 to 15 area. 10 to 15th would probably improved him by, if he would have had 700-800s more at the start, he'd have been up there in the top 15.
See the fans at the side of the track, even in the start area, starting to get a nice dusting of snow now, so that's...
Got the heads bouncing around. 82 miles an hour speed right here, and look at the brakeman, look at the pressure on him.
Yeah.
Driving around these things bent over like that.
Just clinging on to the floor of the sled, hoping that the floor stays underneath you rather than the other way up. Alexei Stulnev, 24th of our 29 starters. Race 4 of the BMW IBSF four-man bobsleigh World Cup in Winterberg in Germany, living up to its name, often known as Rainyberg because of the ambient. But today, as Friday and Saturday's races, all about the snow and the wind.
12th, 16th, and 19th so far this year. He was 5th in this Winterberg event last season.
Yeah.
Start 5:15.
Can't see him being 5th. It was much clearer and still calm for the first 15 sleds minimum, so everybody outside the top 20 now not only has a mountain to climb, but also it's snowing while they're trying to climb it.
Well, I gotta believe he's gonna get himself into the 15th position.
Well, he's gone from 17th start to 19th on the splits, 21st place on the splits, and he's got as little control at the back of the sled as we've seen.
96.1 is not very good speed. 101.9, give him a chance. 101.8 here.
Sliding around.
101.4 is pretty good speed. I think he can come back from this.
No, look at the sled. It's all over. The tail is wagging the dog in every turn.
21st, this would be pretty shocking if he doesn't come to the bottom. He's got him. He's got
He's
Olsen.
ahead of Olsen at the moment.
Look at the speed. He's a half kilometer better. There
And
it is.
he is 19th, but honestly, you know, he was planting the nose and the tail was just drifting all over the place.
Yeah, he's too good a driver, too experienced to be back in this position. 5th last year in this event.
Yeah. He definitely did not have the runners for the track or the weather on today. You're seeing all the replays. The nose is right where it needs to be, but the tail is just meandering up and down and left and right. Look again there. He's got the line right.
The skid, and this is in the
and again
curve
here.
10. That's high there in 10.
Yeah.
But he was fast down here. 134 kilometer speed is better than the last 7 or 8 sleds been down.
Yeah. So Justin Olsen is out, Markus Treichel is out, Alexei Stulnev tied with Dominik Dvorak of the Czech Republic, and they are in 19th place. Our third Russian sled next up, this is Maxim Anginov. You can see Yulia Kanakina up there with the rattle and the banging. All the skeleton girls and boys are still here, supporting their bobsleigh teammates. There's about hordes of them there. Anginov, it looks like a snow globe now at the start, John. It was a clear day when we began this heat.
That was then.
Yeah, I know.
63.2 is decent speed for that start. The start is way off the mark, the 20th best start. So anybody that type of start to get 63.2 means they had a good entry, good velocity in the sled.
Now, at the moment, he's being shown as 20th place, but 20th, when you've got a tie for 19, I don't think that exists. It has to be 21st. Now he's up to 19th, so he's ahead of his teammate, Alexei Stulnev,
and
and Dominik Dvorak.
Pretty good speed, 108,
Okay,
but he's late there.
Oh!
Watch out. He'll get away with it, though. That was one of the worst lines we've seen yet. And he's going to hang in there. 133.7, not what his teammate had, but of course his teammate almost did crash, so 18.
Hang on a minute, he almost crashed. We could see the sponsor's name all the way down the side. Well,
So there's a tie for 20th, is that right? Yeah, so we have a tie for 20th.
He's in 18th, but Anginov, how did he get away with that enormous skid and still go faster than his teammate? That's insane. I mean, it was almost nose on one side of the track and tail on the other.
Well, curve 9, watch him up to your too high, up near the woodwork here. When you're up there near the wood, then you're going to come off and late, and then you're going to have to steer, and then you're going to get into a skid and go into curve 10.
If they had a sponsor,
the wrong direction.
You could read it clearly all the way down there. Well, he's in the race anyway, and we have a tie for 20th. Dvorak and Stulnev together, either both in or both out. So, does Jan Verber of the Czech Republic bump his teammate? Johannes Lochner, Nico Walter, Francesco Friedrich lead here in Winterberg.
Well, Jan's more of a four-man specialist than a two-man. Too late getting in there, though. They're still playing with the push bars. 63, look at that, 62.4. That shows you what happens when you're still trying to settle yourself into the sled when you go around that zero curve. And that just takes away all your velocity. And now he's going to be set. He's a capable driver. So, I mean, he could find some speed. I'm also seeing some heads rolling around. His guys are way up. 95.4 is a kilometer down there. Look at the heads.
They get rattled around.
Yeah, they're not comfortable sitting in that sled.
Really are, no. The man at 3, who's got the yellow highlights in his helmet, he's getting bounced around like he's on a...
Very surprised. This is a
Dominic
four-man driver.
He's
here.
a very experienced brakeman as well.
Yeah, so there's that sled. Number 2 and 3 guys got to find a better way to fit in and be more comfortable. And that sled, you saw the head snapping around.
I'm guessing that Dominic Succi at 3 didn't have his legs around the man at 2.
Something going on, because the 2 and 3 guys, their heads were bouncing around like pinballs.
Where's his legs? No, well, I won't understand it. It's in check, but they're 24th.
They definitely were yelling at something happened. Let's see if they get in okay. Jan Vriba with the power step, watches. He's in and down, and where's the 2 guys? Waiting for the 3 guy. The 4 guy can't get in. So
that was a really late load on the back from David Egge.
They're still, sitting down, and they're still not down. Look at all the shoulders that you see.
Brakeman ran it almost down to through 0 to corner 1. That was far too long. Next up is Ivo de Bruyne of the Netherlands. Jeroen Pik, Bro van der Zijde and Janko Francic, and a big support here. 150 sponsors, guests here. 17th fastest start, 5:14. Is this enough to get him into the race?
Pretty good speed, too, for the Holland Casino sled.
24th in last year's race.
Well, he started off at 17, 16. Listen, to make the cut, it was drift there.
Yeah, but this is what he needs. He needs one good run to get that confidence in.
This isn't bad. Oh, that hurt him. 95.6 is not good speed. It'll start to drop. He's going to need 101 middle speed here to have a chance.
16th place on the splits.
100.6.
Out
That's
to
off
22.
the pace. Yeah, no speed in the Kreisel at all, this sled. This is a brand new Eurotech sled that it's got a lot of tricks to it.
Now, this isn't the new one yet.
Yes, it is. This is the new one.
Doesn't have the nose.
No, not the new nose, but it's got all the rest of it.
All right.
The chassis.
55-29. Disappointment for Tom Delahunty. They're 24th, where they were last year.
Had decent start, decent velocities.
The speed went away, and again, when you see the replays, watch the tail of the sled sliding all over the place.
Well, this is entrance into Kreisel, and that's not how to do it. Just speed. Anybody that doesn't have 96-kilometer speed, there is a lot of issues.
No control of the back of the sled at all, and he may have been a little late off a couple of those corners, but the tail wags the dog here. There's a lot of sled behind those front runners. So the Dutch Alps not kind to the Netherlands. 2 sleds to go. And Simone Bertazzo of Italy trying to fight to avoid the fate of his teammate Mathieu Baumgartner, who is in 26th place and will not get a second run. Now, Bertazzo made the field last year, 16th place in this race in Winterberg.
Wow.
So if he's got a decent enough start, anything in the teens will help. 22, that's going to make it a little tough.
Speed, look at that, sub 63 kilometers an hour, which is 39 miles an hour. Anybody sub 63, 63.5 will give you something of a chance. 63.8 and 9, the top sleds have achieved there.
Well, he was 24th at the start, and that's where he rests at the moment.
Simone in the twilight, the real twilight of his career.
Yeah.
I'm
He's
sure
already
he'll
said he
stay
won't
on.
be racing next year.
I'm sure he'll stay on and act as a coach.
I hope so. The team have already lost Antonio Tartaglia. He's moved over to the Italian Luge program.
Good lines. 134.5, great speed. He's going to drive himself in.
He's in the race.
Speed,
In 13.
spot.
Wow.
Wow, look at the Italians. Fabrizio Tosini.
Not quite sure what they were looking at there for a moment, because halfway down, next to Kreisel, he was 22nd out of the race.
That tells you what experience, good eyes and hands can do. You can find that fast line at the bottom part of the track. That's the best speed of the last 10 or 15 sleds.
See how much snowier it is now. They're having to push the sled up because the brakeman's putting the brakes on in the normal place. It's just stopping a lot faster.
Well, there's a lot more snow accumulated in that finish, So this is the fast line. Looks smooth. Look at this top speed comparison. Bertazzo, not bad considering the start deficiency.
1.8 Ks away, and he found it all below the labyrinth, or through the labyrinth and below, where overdriving gives away so much speed. So he's in the race. What about the Romanians? Dorin Grigore, 25th last year. Didn't make the cut for yesterday's two-man race. The girls had a good race. Really good run from Anja Greco of Romania, the younger of their two pilots. She had her career high.
Problem there, you see the clocks up there, they get affected by the snow. You know, they've got the master time, but sometimes those eyes up there don't like those snowflakes coming down in front of them.
Here we are, 26th fastest start. He's up to 25th position.
Take a look at the way the guys fit the sled. There's number 3. You can see the head way up there.
It's not a bad-looking run, but just doesn't quite have the speed at the start.
Too much of the shoulders and heads back there. You see in this 4-man, and 2 kilometers down to the best speeds.
Too many taps on the wall as well in the upper part of the track. Now he's rocking and rolling. He's got some speed on board, but not enough to put him into the race. He won't be at the tail of the field, but he'll be close, and he is ahead of Serbia's Vuk Radjenovic, but 28th place means Dorin Grigore and the Romanian boys will not get a second run. So he brings our first heat to its conclusion. See all the brakemen wearing gloves. The driver never does. Nobody learns to drive in gloves. Coaches don't let you.
Look at the heads bouncing around. I mean, those heads are way too high for air. That's 84 miles an hour down there, 83 miles an hour for them, 83.3.
Anything that gets in the airstream slows you down. But at the top of the pile, we've got Germany, 1, 2, 3.
Just like last year.
World champion Johannes Lochner leads. Nico Walter second. World champion Francesco Friedrich third.
Couple Canadians right after that.
Yeah, Spring and Cripps ahead of Kazyanov.
Lochner is a little angry from yesterday when he banged the wall in both heats as a 2-man.
I tell you what though, looking back at
curve
that,
1.
He only got away with all of those ugly-looking corners because it was so quick. He leads by 1200s, top 3 covered by 15. Chris Springing with a shout at the medals, 300s out there in 1800s back. Justin Cripps not far away either, is he? 2300s back. So there could be a few changes in store. And further on down the order, look at that, a 3-way tie. Polignato, Kosteg and Bertazzo. 100th ahead of Brad Hall, 100th ahead of Clemens Brasher, 200s ahead of Matt. You get the picture. Out of the top 20 though, Dvorak, Stulnev, Olsen, Treichel, De Bruyne, Verber, Baumgartner, Grigori and Radjenovic get no second heat. Well, the snow is here, but so too shortly will be the second and final run in race 4 of the 4-man World Cup. Sleds on ice at 1300 local, 1200 GMT. Join us for the action then. Bye for now.